Hi everybody, it's Ryder from hotspotting.com.au, and tonight I'm introducing a new regular feature every week on a Tuesday evening at this time. I plan to introduce my hotspot of the week. So this is the first one. I hope you'll find it informative and you'll tune in week after week to find out about the areas that we rate around Australia as the future hotspots in terms of property investment. And I want to kick off this regular weekly feature by focusing on Townsville in North Queensland. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I just think that Townsville right now is a great example of the sorts of markets that investors should be thinking about and focusing on. And the reason for that is that if you looked at the current numbers, the current statistics for real estate in Townsville, you wouldn't be interested. But it illustrates the point. The point is that we're always looking to the future. We're not that interested in what's happening in the present or the recent past. We're interested in what's going to happen in the future in any particular location that we're studying. And because we think that while Townsville has been through a downturn and the current numbers are a bit ugly, the future is very, very strong. And now is the time to be focusing on an area like Townsville, looking at buying when prices are still down. Because what most people do is they pile into markets when they read or hear there's a boom on. And by the time they read in a newspaper, for example, that there's a property boom happening in an area, it's already been underway for 12 to 18 months, and they've missed the best time to buy at the best prices by a long distance. So the time to be in markets that have got great growth potential is before they start to grow. Townsville fits that bill really, really well. So just looking at the current situation, if you look at the last 12 months, some of the suburbs of Townsville, their median prices, Kelso has dropped 7% in the last 12 months, Mount Louisa 8%, Cranbrook 7%, Kerwin and Douglas 2% each. Not a lot of growth. If you look at the long-term growth averages, they look a bit poor. So that reflects the recent past. Townsville, like a lot of regional Queensland cities, has been through a downturn, partly through its links with the resources sector. The closed down of Clive Palmer's nickel refinery, putting a lot of people out of work, for example, didn't help the local economy, and the local property market has suffered. So that's what's been going on, but what we're interested in what's coming up. And what's coming up is quite massive for Townsville. There are very, very few cities in Australia, capital cities or regional cities, that have as much coming up in terms of infrastructure developments and other developments, pouring investment and creating jobs in the city than Townsville does. We have on our website, on the Hotspotting website, we have a new location reports page, and there is a Townsville report. It's about 12 pages, a great deal of really detailed information about the economy, about the population, about the property market, about what's coming up in terms of investment in infrastructure and other types of development. And when you add up all the projects on our list at the back of the report, projects that are underway or in planning for Townsville, it adds up to about $23 billion. Now, the only other regional city in Australia that I can find that can match that is the Sunshine Coast regional area. Many of the capital cities right now can't match that either. So, you know, what's coming out for Townsville is really quite tremendous, and it really makes this place worthy of note. As the resources sector recovers in Queensland, many projects that are happening in central and western Queensland are going to be headquartered in Townsville. And one project alone is going to base its headquarters in Townsville is probably going to have about 600 employees working in the city once that project gets underway. It gives you an idea of the magnitude of size of some of these projects and their capacity to generate jobs for the city of Townsville. Going through our very comprehensive list of projects that are coming up, there's an expansion of James Cook University. One of the things that's important about Townsville is the diversity of its economy, and the education sector is very important. James Cook University, over a number of years, is going to be spending close to $2 billion on expansions. We have an expansion of the Townsville port. Over time, they're going to be spending $1.6 billion. We've got the Horton River floodplain upgrade, $515 million. There's a project called The Hive, which is a mixture of commercial, tourism, retail, various components. In the centre of Townsville, $450 million. Looking through the list, there's so many projects, so I can't mention them all. Some of the resources and energy projects in and around the Townsville area, there's a solar thermal power station, $1.3 billion. There's the new sports stadium, it's a couple $100 million. There's another solar farm, $200 million. Hydro and solar electricity plant, $300 million. The list goes on. Various resources projects that aren't obviously in Townsville but are in the general area and will be operating in some capacity out of Townsville are multi-billion dollar projects. And then you've got a raft of residential developments, some of them quite major, measured in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and in some cases the billions of dollars. So it's really quite a very, very strong economic picture for Townsville. And what we've already seen as the early stages of some of these projects cranks up is that we're starting to see some considerable employment growth happening in the city of Townsville. Employment grew in the 12 months to February in Townsville almost 13%. The state average for Queensland in that time was 3.5%. So Townsville's 13% just shows you what's starting to happen in Townsville. And the unemployment rate, Townsville, which was previously very high compared to the national average and the state average, has come down considerably and will continue to do so. So we're starting to see signs of better things in the property market as a result of all this activity, and it's going to get better. But previously vacancies were very high in Townsville, but now many of the postcodes are now below 3%. There's one or two of them that's still between 3 and 4%. But it's a big improvement from where they were, and the trend is definitely downwards. The other factor that's attractive is the relative affordability of many of the suburbs of Townsville, which have median prices in the 200,000s and some are in the 300,000s, but compared to our major capital cities, very affordable buying. So a lot of stars coming into alignment for this market. It's starting to shape up as a good bet, one that people should at least be showing some interest in. A property market that's affordable, where vacancies are falling, coming into a strong recovery mode, underpinned by an economy which has got great diversity, more so than most regional cities around Australia. It's got manufacturing, tourism, health, defence, education, government administration, resources. It's got an export port, a major airport. It's got a lot of strings to its economic bow, and it's all starting to come into a position of strength with employment growing and unemployment dropping, and we expect to see a strong property market coming out of that over the next few years. So for all those reasons, we thought that Townsville was a great example of what we look for, hence I'm making it the first of my weekly Hotspot of the Week features. If you've got any questions about this particular, actually, there's a few comments coming through, but I won't focus on them now. If you do have any comments or questions, please type them into the website and I'll respond wherever I can. But it's one to keep in mind, if you're an investor anywhere in Australia, if you're doing it properly, you'll be considering all of Australia as your potential market. You'll be thinking nationally, not locally, to look for the best opportunities, and wherever you happen to be, Townsville one that's certainly worth considering. Now, if you want to find out more, on our new locations report page on the hotspotting.com.au website, we do have a report on Townsville. It's very detailed, it's about 12 pages, lots of information, and give you a very clear picture of why we rate it. So that's it for now. Terry Ryder from Hotspotting signing off. I'll talk to you again soon, and this time next week I'll be featuring another location as part of my regular weekly feature on Tuesday evening at this time, Hotspot of the Week. Thanks for listening. Bye.